Thank you, everyone. I just want to welcome you to the Detroit Sports Podcast. Thank you for downloading this episode. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And if you like the show, tell a friend.
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
That's why these two guys here, these are the men I want as my friends. They're the new blood.
Episode 49 of the Detroit Sports Podcast is on the air.
Bam, bitches!
Doc and Jock are here to deliver. Even though some great Major League Baseball pitchers are hanging out in Mexico with their beautiful girlfriends, Doc and Jock are sitting here ready to deliver another great podcast. Joining me is my cousin, Adam Strozinski. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. We're ready to drop another great podcast covering all things Detroit sports. What's up, cuz?
We should change our names to Little Caesars because we're hot and ready all the time.
Man, it was a good week. We got a lot to get to. Usually, when we drop our podcast, make our posts on Twitter, we don't get responses like we've gotten in the last week.
Wait, hold on. Before you get into everything that's kind of tailspun its way out of last episode, I think the listeners might want to know, and I want to go on record and congratulate you. You've brought another little bundle of joy to the family. You had your second daughter, Olivia, so congratulations.
It was a great experience. I mean, it worked itself out perfectly. We had the baby went full term, a little bit overdue. She went one day beyond full term, and we had the baby on last Saturday, and here I am, dropping another podcast. I'm very happy. I couldn't be excited. I have two little girls, and they make me the happiest person in the world. They keep me motivated, and they keep me energized to do great things like this podcast. So I'm the happiest man on earth, and I got to try to convince my wife after that last delivery to have a couple more.
Yeah, she said no way. By the way, it was the craziest week for you. You had World Cup match for the third place. You had the championship match. You had the All-Star break. You had a kid in between all that. Dude, all that little hair that you're losing on top, man, it's definitely going away much faster now after that week.
It's hilarious when people will comment, "Wow, your kid, your new kid has more hair than you do."
That's true,
Yes.
too. I came in and I was like, wow.
And luckily,
Definitely doesn't get it from you.
yeah, luckily, my daughters take after their beautiful mom, and I got lucky in that department. So thank gosh everyone's healthy. Mom and baby are doing great, and I'm ready to kick off another great podcast, man. We got a lot to get to. So like I was saying earlier, usually we don't get responses like we got this past week to our tweets, to our messages, to our comments. Somebody out there wants to kick your ass, Jock. Not literally, but I think someone wants to join the podcast and kind of take you to task for things you've said in the last couple of podcasts. So stay tuned. We're going to have a special guest, maybe one that you recognize, that wants to take you to task for comments that you made regarding Hockeytown.
My Hockeytown membership might be revoked after tonight, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, so stay tuned. We got a lot to get to. We're going to definitely talk about Golden Tate's comments on First Take earlier this week. He went on the national program and kind of talked a little bit about some of the problems that the Lions had last season with discipline and what his thoughts were in regards to Matthew Stafford v. Russell Wilson. So we'll get into that later on in the podcast. We're going to be joined by Travis Newville from the Detroit Sports Nation, and he's going to drop his knowledge regarding issues regarding the Lions, thoughts regarding Titus Young being arrested yet again, and thoughts regarding some of the Lions players making comments, including Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, regarding the Lions' potential performance in this upcoming season. So we look forward to that. Stay tuned. Again, we have a special guest that wants to take the Jock to task. But to open this podcast, Jock and I got to get to an important topic that's kind of shaped one of the franchises here in Detroit. The Red Wings upset Red Wing Nation when the news came out that Daniel Cleary got signed to a one-year extension. Everyone in Detroit basically flipped out just due to the fact of his production. 8 points in 52 games last year. often injury prone, was put on the power play unit, did not perform. He was a minus player. Everyone kind of keyed into the comments made by Kenny Holland, saying that he made this move basically based on last year, based on loyalty. And Ken Holland came out and said that he runs his organization based on loyalty, and while it has its ups and downs, it's mostly been good. So you and I are going to talk about that. We're going to hit on loyalty in sports as it relates to the Red Wings and definitely as it relates to sports. So I'm going to definitely let you kick things off because I know once you heard that Daniel Cleary got signed, all hell broke loose. Let it rip.
So there's a difference between being loyal and just being stupid. And this was just a stupid signing. You said it yourself, 52 games, and he had 8 points, 4 goals, 4 assists. You paid him $1.5 million, plus you promised him $1 million in bonuses. So possibly in excess of $2.5 million is going to a guy who is a part-time player. The guy doesn't produce like he used to. He's not even good enough to be on your fourth line right now. This guy will be a 50-50 player if he even makes the roster. I don't know how he makes the roster. I don't understand how you give him carte blanche over some of this young up-and-coming talent who has a potential as high as the Joe Louis ceiling. And yet you've got this guy who basically has fulfilled everything that he can do. He has played every position he can play and he's given it his 110%. He's given it his all. And that's great, but there comes a point in your age where you just have to hang him up.
Okay,
Dan Cleary needs to go away.
So let me ask you this. How much fault do you give to Ken Holland, and how much fault do you give to Mike Babcock? Because Ken Holland is basically kowtowing to the request made by his head coach, who obviously pushed for this player to be signed. He's obviously a locker room guy. Mike Babcock has a thing for him. And Mike Babcock is in a contract year. He is not signed beyond this season. And so Ken Holland has to think, okay, I don't want to piss off my coach. I'm going to do what he says. But on the other end, you got a coach that hasn't committed to you long term, and you're willing to take on his retreads. So who do you think is more to blame with this signing?
They're both at fault. Ken Holland's the one who has to sit there and offer the contract, and he's the one who has to go out and get the players. If Mike Babcock is requesting a guy, he wants a certain player, Ken Holland's got to be smart enough. He's got to be the brains in the room to say, you know what, we're going to go in a different direction. I know that might upset you, but you're in a contract year. I'm going to get you the best players to try to keep you around because I really like you. Instead, it's almost like he's sabotaging him by giving him Dan Cleary. You could have went out and you could have basically picked up Danny Heatley for $500,000 less. Danny Heatley, a 40-50 goal scorer. I don't think Dan Cleary's ever had 50 goals in a season, much less 2 seasons combined. I know that maybe is a little bit harsh, but that's what you could have got that was out there. You could have picked up Mike Ribeiro. You could have picked up guys who wanted to come and play for a 1-year contract. And you could have said, yeah, you know what? I'll give you $500,000 more than what they're offering. And I bet those guys would have took it. And these guys produce. These guys are productive. Danny Heatley last year played in 76 games, had 12 goals, 16 assists. I mean, that's pretty solid for a guy who's basically on the downward tailspin of his career. It's a lot better than Dan Cleary. And on top of it, the guy has 20-goal potential. I don't understand why Ken Holland would go out and make this move, sign this guy, bring him back into the fold when you've got all this talent that you keep talking about. It's all you hear about from these Red Wings is that there's talent, just waiting in the wings, pun intended. And you don't get to see it because if for whatever reason the guys play, they sit there and they play the same. They coming out of training camp, they're exactly the same. Mike Babcock has said it time and time again. The tie always goes to the veteran. So if Anthony Mantha comes out and basically smokes Dan Cleary's doors off, but Dan Cleary can provide a little bit more defense than Anthony Mantha can, guess who's going to get the nod? It's going to be Dan Cleary. It doesn't make any sense to sign this guy and bring him back in the fold. It's just like you're setting almost $2.5 million on fire just because you want to watch it burn.
The only sport where you can afford to be loyal because there's no salary cap is baseball. Look at this. The Tigers are set to start paying JV $28 million in the next few seasons. Starting next season, he gets a raise. And look what's happened now. But that's based on his past performance, his contribution to getting to the team to 2 World Series. That's where you can be loyal. Now, it can hurt you definitely baseball-wise in terms of if your team cannot afford to pay over $150 million in salary. But look at the Yankees. They take care of their players, and they are printing money so they take care of their players. But in every other sport, being loyal is ridiculous. You have to be realistic in sports and understand being loyal has gone all the way back to when the Boston Braves released Babe Ruth. The 49ers released Joe Montana. The Packers let go of Brett Favre. And just recently, the Colts let go of Peyton Manning to go in a younger direction. Organizations can't afford to be loyal to players with the salary cap. You have to get the guys who you believe are going to produce in the here and now. And in the basketball, the biggest example of a player that's milking the cap and hurting his franchise is Kobe Bryant. Making $25 million plus for 2 more seasons? Based on what? He was injury prone last year. He's handicapped in that franchise. And the reason why they're doing it is it's a business decision. He sells jerseys. He's won several championships. They've been loyal. But look what it's done to them now competitively. And look at what's happened now to the Red Wings. You're in a salary cap era, which means every dollar spent has to be looked at. And in terms of the signing of Daniel Cleary, unless he produces, unless he's 100% healthy and he returns to form, which is not likely at his age, then the signing was terrible and you've set back the Red Wings organization. Now, Ken Holland deserves credit for the Stanley Cups that the Red Wings have won in the past, when we could just spend money freely. But right now, in a salary cap era, he's not doing what it takes to put the Red Wings in the best position possible, and the signing of Daniel Cleary just shows it. You can't afford to be loyal. Listen, players talk, and yes, they understand that they respect organizations that are loyal to their players, but at the same time, winning cures all. If you have a winning organization, that brings free agents. Okay, but if you're going to spend money on players that aren't contributing, you're going to have a situation that happened on opening day of free agency happen to you more and more, and you just can't have that happen.
The worst part is, too, by bringing back these retreads, you stunt the growth of your talent, of your youth. So why sit there and why bring these guys back in, work them back into the fold at the expense of what you could possibly have developing down the line? You've seen it with Nyquist. You've seen it with Tartar. You've seen it with the young guys that they brought up last year, and they were forced to bring them up due to injury last year. The only way that this contract with Dan Cleary would have been acceptable is if it was a 2-way deal. You could sit there and bring him up from the minors when you needed a guy to plug him in. You can send him down when you had to. And there was a way to sit there and work out a calculation for the cap to where it wouldn't sit there and hit you in the face for $1.5 million. Instead, you sit there, you sign him to a 1-way deal. Now you're stuck with him. And you're going to stunt the growth of your young talent.
And what happens if Mike Babcock next year just decides to, you know what, I'm out of here, and leaves? Now you got a guy who potentially they want to keep as a guy that's going to be in the organization in the future. I don't understand why they're making so many promises to Daniel Cleary. Where has he delivered? So he turned down money.
Has he won us a Stanley Cup single-handedly? No. Has the guy scored more than 25 goals in a season? No. Has the guy gone out there and has he basically beat the tar out of Claude Lemieux because you needed to exact vengeance? Has he done anything like that? He's not done anything like that. I don't understand why this guy is a huge piece of the puzzle. I can understand this with Steve Yzerman. Even Steve Yzerman did great things like sit there. He knew he only had one knee. He would sit there and take basically the league minimum. He'd come back on a 1-year deal every year at $1 million, $1.5 million, and he would sit there and he would still go out there and he'd outperform Dan Cleary on 2 good legs. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
It's just one of those things where if Ken Holland's going to come out there and say, I'm running my organization based on loyalty, then we're going to be in a situation where we're not going to win cups. And right now the heat's on. I don't know how much longer the Ilitch organization can wait. It's been since 2008 since we've advanced past the second round of the playoffs. How long can you wait? And if you're running your organization like that, you're in jeopardy of losing your job. And I just think that Ken Holland is going to be facing a lot of pressure this season, and every move should be looked at and should be scrutinized. And you can't have a guy like Daniel Cleary on your roster, especially, just look at the roster, not even his position with Mike Babcock. This team is full of forwards. You don't need him.
You don't need to bring him back. There's no place for him. Like I said, you can't even fit him on your 4th line. And you know what? When the Wings were winning Stanley Cups, they had, and this sounds like an old bit, but they rolled 4 lines. Their 4th line outproduced other teams' 2nd and 3rd line players. Their 4th liners did. So you mean to tell me Dan Cleary's going to go out there and he's going to outproduce somebody else on somebody else's 3rd line? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I know it's a salary cap era, but you could go get guys like Danny Heatley, Mike Ribeiro, Derek Roy. You can go get those guys for less money than what you're paying Cleary. And they're going to produce more. They're younger and they're a little bit more talented. Cleary came into the league as basically a third-line center. That's what he was. He was a grinder-type guy. He wasn't out there to sit there and put up 50 points every season. He was out there to sit there, muck it up in the corners, dig the puck out. If you needed a guy to go to the net on a power play, he was there, but he was always on power play 2. He was never on power play 1. If you needed a defensive center out there during a penalty kill, he was on your penalty kill 2. The guy was never a top-of-the-line guy. So why are you going to bring him back and give him more money than these other players who have more talent? It doesn't make sense.
And so the bottom line is this. The players are aware that there's no real loyalty in sports. Organizations are becoming aware. In football, when you're hurt, they cut you. Top-of-the-line players have moved on. So if players are understanding this process, organizations are understanding this process, the Wings can't be the last to know. They just can't be. Just look at the situation with LeBron James. He left Cleveland and went to Miami, played there 4 years, won his 2 rings, got to 2 other finals, and then he looked at the roster and was like, oh, man, I had to carry this team, and we got spanked by San Antonio. Boop, I'm out of here. And still, once he signed with Cleveland, he didn't sign a long-term deal. He looked out for himself. He realized, hey, there's a collective bargaining agreement going to be done in a couple years. I'm only going to sign a 2-year deal with Cleveland. Cleveland fans should not be surprised if he does it again.
But you know what? That was one of the best things he did, though, when he switched teams. And this is going to get away from the hockey talk a little bit. But when he signed that 2-year deal, that was great because what he can do now, it gives him flexibility. And next year he can opt out if he wanted to. So it gives him flexibility and it gives the team flexibility that say you need to re-sign Kyrie Irving, you need to sit there, you need to bring more guys in to help that team along because I don't think that team is punch button NBA championship. I don't think you can stamp them right now for winning next year's title. So if you need to bring more guys in or you need to do something else, it gives him and it gives that team flexibility for that salary cap, whatever it may do, if it goes up or if it goes down. So I think that was a great move on his part, signing only a 2-year deal, having an opt-out after the first year, and being able to sit there and help that team along. And you know what? It might be selfish reason because after the new collective bargaining agreement, maybe the max deal goes up, and maybe he's still at the top of his game, and maybe he wants to sign another max deal, and maybe he wants to make it a little bit longer. You know what? It gives him that option then too as well. So I think it was a great idea for him to do that. Unlike, like you said, a player like Kobe Bryant, who's basically hamstringing that team, they can't get any free agents in there.
Now, cuz I'm going to be honest with you. Bottom line, if a 6-foot woman, blonde hair, buxom physique came in and said, I can talk sports, John, replace Jock, I might have to consider, not being loyal, and it'll be Doc and the Broad. So understand this. There's no loyalty in sports. There's no loyalty in podcasting. Everybody can be replaced. And if you're on board with it, I'm on board with it. Ken Holland, you got to be on board with it. Everyone has their thing. And if you realize that Stanley Cups is an overall goal, you don't make that move. For me, it's women. That's my thing. So that would get Jock replaced. That's the only thing that would get Jock replaced is if a woman can come in here and wow me and tell me that she can talk sports and has, an interesting appeal. Jock's gone.
If a 12 walks in the door and she wants to sit here and talk sports with your goofy ass, by all means, I'll walk out. I'll pull up a seat and I'll just watch.
So there you understand. You're always welcome. You're always welcome in the studio.
Would she be doing the show in a bikini?
We have standards and practices. They wouldn't let me. I might offer
so
that.
So it should be topless then.
Standards and practices would not allow that. They would not allow that on the air. You never know. I don't want no letters. I don't want letters written to me about my attitudes and things like that. But I'm just saying, everyone in radio knows it. Everyone in podcasting knows it. Organizations in sports know it. Can't be loyal. You just have to do what you got to do to bring championships to this town.
Doesn't Lil Wayne have a song about this?
So that's all we got to do, man. So what are you going to do? Stay tuned. Coming up after the break, we're going to reveal who has issues with the Jock and wants to take him to task regarding his talk about Hockeytown being dead. Stay with us. All right, everyone, we've teased it long enough. Usually when we do our podcast, we get a great response. But last evening, just out of the blue, we get a random tweet that somebody has an issue with Jock. And I was like, whoa, the language was pretty strong. So joining us again, she had a great response, her first appearance on the podcast, and she messaged me that she had to get back on here to get with the Jock and to get at him. Megan McCormick from Fox Sports LA. How are you tonight, Megan?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We are great. We're very interested, and we want to know, what's your beef with the Jock? Why are you so angry with him?
No, I'll put it into perspective. Okay, I was a little late on listening to the podcast this week, so I was driving home and I'm listening to it, and when I heard Hockeytown is dead, I mean, I wish there was a picture of my face. I might have like talked to myself for a second in the car. Like, what? That, like, you cannot make definitive statements like that about Hockeytown. And that's how I'm going to preempt this conversation. That's why I'm just saying dead. Because I think you tweeted back to me too that was like, what did you say? We just need like more juice or something. But you said dead. You said Hockeytown's dead. Do you know how my heart broke when you said that?
Adam, it tends to be a heartbreaker, and he tends to be very excitable about the Red Wings, and he's very passionate, but he's very upset.
I get the frustration, though. I get what I listen to the whole thing. I get where he's coming from, but I'm excited to have a discussion about this.
So
I was getting in Twitter fights with other people about this last night too, and then the Detroit Red Wings, by the way, thanked me for supporting the Hockeytown. So no big deal. No big deal having their support.
And remember too, on the podcast, the Doc did say, "Listen, Hockeytown's not dead. That it's up to the talent that's on the team." So we now know that the Doc is your favorite, which is very important to me. So you said that Hockeytown would kick Jock's ass if they thought that he was saying Hockeytown was dead.
Well, I mean, I guess everyone has their own opinion of what Hockeytown is. My opinion is Hockeytown is the town. It's not just a team. I mean, just because we don't win a Stanley Cup this year, does that mean that we're not, the 2008 team wasn't as good? Like, Detroit Red Wings aren't as good anymore because they're not like that team. I mean, like, Hockeytown to me is a compilation of things. It's the fans, it's the team, and it's the fact that we're able to call ourselves Hockeytown, considering we're one of the original six, because all six of those teams have been called Hockeytown. So that, to me, as a fan, was offensive. But I see what he's saying, that, like there's all this talk about these players not wanting to come to Detroit because maybe we're not, Stanley Cup contenders for next year. But the last time I was on the podcast, I said the same thing. It's going to take a minute. We have really, really good older players, and we have really, really good players that are coming in. We don't really have a middle ground right now. So we're not going to win the Stanley Cup next year. I don't think that. I definitely think we're going to make the playoffs next year. And I don't 100% agree with the complete and utter disappointment of re-signing Dan Cleary. And I want to explain that a little bit further too. But just the Hockeytown, I mean, it depends on what you think Hockeytown means to you. To me, it's a compilation of everything. Like, Hockeytown will never be dead, even if we are the worst team in the league, as far as I'm concerned. Because Detroit fans are the best fans. That's what I think.
There was a giant earthquake in the center of Detroit, and Joe Louis Arena was swallowed up by this canyonous hole that just devoured it. And Hockeytown died with that and has been buried and lying in rubble right now. That's where Hockeytown is.
But it's still Hockeytown. Like, you can't take that away from Detroit. Ever.
Nobody wants to come here to play, though.
Stripes. You know what I'm saying? We've earned our stripes. You earn that name, Hockeytown, and we've earned it.
Okay, over the course of 23 years.
It's not dead just because the team isn't perfect right now, which, by the way, getting a little ahead of yourself. The whole free agency situation is definitely a situation, and it's not a good one. But give him a second. Let's at least see him play one game before you're telling me Hockeytown is dead. I mean, give him a chance. Before
we get into Dan Cleary, or actually when we get into Dan Cleary, I've got a list of guys to talk to you about.
Oh, we don't play that.
But before that, the free agency thing is it's a debacle. Let's call it what it is. It's a disaster.
It really is.
It's not good. All right? Nobody wants to come here and play. Nobody wants to wear the winged wheel and skate around. Over the course of the last 23 years, they earned the right to call themselves Hockeytown. The last 3-4 years out of that 23-year stretch has been monumental disappointment. They haven't made it to the second round of the playoffs in years. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. What's that?
But they still made the playoffs.
You said that they're going to make the playoffs next year. Do you really believe that?
Yeah, I really believe that. I think that a lot of people forget how much heart that team has, especially continuing having the older players on the team. That's what I'm saying. Like, look at the history of Detroit teams. I mean, look at the Bad Boys for the Pistons. I mean, that's like something I bring it back to. Like, just because we don't have, the best free agents, we didn't sign Boyle, we didn't sign anyone that we wanted, and it's been a situation for a while, it doesn't mean that we haven't had guys on that team that have gotten to that level of like shedding blood and shedding tears and like dying for this team and having love for this team. Because when you have teams like that, it doesn't matter how many great players you have on paper, they can still get to a level that you can't get to if you try and put together the perfect team that might not have as much heart into it. And I truly believe that. And we still have, you know, a lot of the players they are getting older, but they're still on the team. They're still there, and they're going to be the ones that are going to help the younger guys that are coming from Grand Rapids that are going to kind of get into that system and get into having that heart of Detroit.
Okay,
That's what I think.
Two things. Heart doesn't win you 7-game series, and those young players that are coming from Grand Rapids, there's no room for them because you got old shells like Dan Cleary coming here.
Yeah, I know, but they're competing with Dan Cleary, with somebody who is a huge.
It's not a two-way contract with Dan Cleary. If it was a two-way contract with Dan Cleary, we'd all be okay with it. It's a one-way contract. He's staying here.
Well, you know what? Like I said, Ken Holland even said it. It's a program about loyalty. Oh. That is important to a lot of sports fans, and I just don't 100% agree with what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I see another side to it, and I think that's important in sports. I do.
Okay, let's get into Dan Cleary real quick, because that's a hot button issue. All right,
I know, and a lot of people are not happy about it, and I get it.
Okay, Dan Cleary played 52 games last year, scored 4 goals, had 4 assists, and he's coming back on a $1.5 million contract with up to $1 million in bonuses.
I know.
Do you realize what was out there? I did a little bit of research here.
Okay, give it to me.
What was out there was a guy like Danny Heatley, who at 2 points in his career had scored 50 goals in a season. Last year he played 76 games, scored 28 points. He took $1 million to go play in Anaheim. A guy like Mike Ribeiro played 80 games. His life is a complete disaster because I think his wife's a giant skis and she's ruining his life in their marriage. That guy scored 47 points last year. He took a $1.05 million deal to play with Nashville. Derek Roy, 75 games, 37 points, $1 million. I would take Patrick Eaves and his hobbled self for the deal that he took. He took $650,000 to go play in Dallas. You mean to tell me that Dan Cleary is an upgrade over any one of those guys?
I know you're not going to agree with me, but like I said, we've lost a lot of important players on the Red Wings that I know, like, heart isn't everything. Heart doesn't win you 7 games. Well, I'm not expecting this team to win a Stanley Cup, but I'm expecting this team to have people like Cleary that I really think are going to help the younger guys get into the mindset to get us to the last 23 years and get us back to a level. But it's going to take a minute. But if you don't have leaders like that and you don't have a team that sets up a situation, you know, with that loyalty, I don't think you're going to be a championship team, even if you win a championship. That's how I think about it. I get what you're saying. You can throw me the numbers. I get what you're saying. But I just look at it from 2 different perspectives. So I don't think that, you know, everyone needs to cry about it. I think that we need to give it a chance, and we need to give it a minute. He was injured, you know. Give him a break. I know he sucked last year. I get it. But that's my opinion about it. So you can take it. You can take it for what it is.
I'm so frustrated right now. I'm speechless.
Good. I like it.
It's horrible.
I hope Cleary comes out and just kills it, and then I could just call you up and be like, "Hey, remember when you hated me?"
I hope so too, because he's here. He has to kill it.
Yeah, he does. He does.
With Hockeytown comes the expectations of winning championshients.
But you know what? With Hockeytown, it also comes with loyalty. And sometimes when you're in a situation that you're in, you got to go with it. And you got to put a little faith in it. You got to put a little heart in it. And I feel like Detroit is one of the only cities that has teams that can build off of situations like that. I believe that. I don't think that about you know, the Kings. The Kings have won 2 Stanley Cups in 3 years, but I still don't think that, you know, there's no passion there. Like, it's a different type of situation. No one's just going to call LA Hockeytown just because they won 2 Stanley Cups in 3 years.
With it being Hockeytown, this is why I say Hockeytown is dead. You're the prime example of why it is dead. It was
so
championship
right
or bust. It was championship or bust. All right, and that's what it was every year. We're not winning championships. You said it yourself. You don't expect them to win a championship next year.
Yeah, but
every season that the Wings play, I go into it expecting them to win a championship. At least compete for one.
Listen, it was a messy year. It was a messy year last year. We barely made the playoffs. Barely,
and they're bringing
barely,
back the band again, so we're barely going to make the playoffs again.
Because you're talking about a season that is non-existent yet. Nothing. You haven't seen anything this year that you can give me discrete examples of why it's not Hockeytown anymore. If you want to talk to me in a year...
But the band is coming back together, and they didn't hardly make the playoffs last year, and then they got jail-sexed in the playoffs.
You know what? I think that you need to have a little bit more faith. That's what I think. I think you're totally not even, like, taking in anything I'm saying. You're just giving me all these numbers. You're giving me all these reasons, and I get half of them. I just see another perspective. That's why I think the whole Hockeytown is dead. I mean, give me a break. The free agents, you don't know why they didn't decide to come to Detroit. It doesn't necessarily, they all have their own individual reasons. It sucks. It would have been great to have Dan Boyle, but the fact that he took less money to go somewhere else, to me, I don't want somebody that doesn't want to play on a team that bad. I mean, if he obviously doesn't want to play for the Red Wings, to take less money to go somewhere else, whatever the reason is, then don't play for the team. You don't have enough heart to play for the team. And I think that's what Hockeytown is all about, regardless of what what free agents we get or what deals we make. That was my point.
Exactly.
Hockeytown has more to do with just winning championships.
Exactly, Megan. That's what I wanted to tell Jock, is that remember when we won the Stanley Cup in '97, we didn't just go out and buy the entire team. There was a lot of homegrown talent, and we brought in the biggest piece in Brendan Shanahan, and we can do it again, and we can do it again. And if Coach Babcock believes in Dan Cleary, then we got to roll the dice and see what happens.
Well, and you know what? Ken Holland does too, and I think that really makes a difference. And I think there's a lot behind this. I think he's really, really respected by that team, and I think that makes a difference. It's not the perfect situation. I'm not saying that, but it's not something that was, a throwaway decision. I think there is something behind it. I think something good could come out of it, and I hope that it does. All
right, Megan, just to wrap it up, it's very important that this season Dan Cleary produced, because we're in a salary cap era, and if we're going to tie $1.5 to $2.5 million in this player in a salary cap era, he's got to produce. And I'm hoping that in this situation that he does produce and help us to get back to where we got to go. And you're right, it is a process, and it's going to take time. And hopefully a guy like Jock doesn't jump off the bandwagon before you and I celebrate the next championship.
I agree.
Okay, now, you messaged me that you were definitely interested in talking about the NBA. You had some thoughts and opinions regarding LeBron moving from Miami to Cleveland, and thoughts on Carmelo Anthony. So what's been your take on the NBA free agency so far?
Everybody and their mother obviously was talking about what's LeBron going to do, and I think he did I don't want to say the complete opposite of what he did when he went to South Beach, but I mean, what happened when he went to Miami was it just irked so many people, like it really did. It irked me, and I could kind of care less. Sorry, I'm at work right now, and somebody just came up to my desk.
What the hell's going on out here?
I'm doing a radio podcast.
Bam, bitches.
Sorry about that. Anyways, LeBron. So when he came out that he was going back to Cleveland, I immediately liked him more. The way that he handled it, the way that the whole situation happened, and even with what Dan Gilbert said after, I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that he did that. Some people were saying some people were like, what you're saying it's college? Well, whatever. He just went to Miami, played with the best players in the league, and he's a lot better than he was when he was in Cleveland. He's going to come better. He's going to come back to Cleveland. He's going to be a huge leader, and I guarantee you that team is going to blow people's minds in the next year or 2 years. And I think he was really classy about it. I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited to see what Cleveland is going to do, and I'm excited for Cleveland in itself, because that hurt a lot of people. It really did when he went to Miami and did it the way that he did.
Since you're the LA girl, what's been going on with the struggles with LA trying to sign a big name free agent? Do you think it's Kobe? Do you think it's cap issues? Do you think it's kind of a combination?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought I had a really good feeling that Carmelo was going to end up in LA. I feel like he kind of wanted to try that out. I don't think he would have been scared to play with Kobe. LA already, whatever. When I knew he wasn't going to go out to LA, I knew he wasn't going to go to the Bulls, because what is he going to do? Go and win a championship with the Bulls and be second rate to Michael Jordan? He can go back to the Knicks and he can really be, a legend. I think that was the circle of that. I don't know what LA is going to do, to be honest with you. They're in a pickle, the Lakers. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Do you think a lot of the issue is Kobe Bryant? Is just Kobe so overbearing and so powerful in that locker room?
I'm sure it is for some people. Absolutely. I mean, Kobe Bryant runs this town, and so does his wife. And so I mean, like this is Kobe's town, and it has been for a long time. I'm sure that has something to do with it. I doubt that would be 100% of the reason. It's Kobe Bryant. What are you going to do? I don't want to play with him.
So Carmelo going to the Knicks. How big of a surprise was that for you? Because you said yourself that you thought maybe he come to L.A., but he ended up going back to the Knicks. You didn't think he had a shot with Chicago, but him going to the Knicks and him signing for what he signed for, how surprising was that for you?
It wasn't that surprising to me. Like I said, I thought maybe he was going to try for L.A. I've, heard things. I know, like, his wife wants to be back in L.A., and that was my whole, vision with it. Then with the Bulls, I think he had an idea of maybe going there, but like what I just said, why are you going to go to the Bulls when you can do your thing with Knicks? And Phil Jackson, I mean, you're working under Phil Jackson. He knows what he's doing. And then the way that he took the contract and he kind of did what Jackson asked him to do, I'm not surprised he went back to the Knicks. He went to college in Syracuse. New York loves him. Without him, I don't know what they would do. But no, I wasn't surprised. I was more surprised by LeBron going back to Cleveland than I was with Melo going back to the Knicks.
Well, Megan, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming on our podcast and interrupting your work day. So thank you for
I've had 6 people come up to my desk since I've been on the phone. They're probably like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, sorry, did I just swear on the radio? Am I allowed to say that?
Tell them that I'm on the Detroit Sports Podcast, and tell them that you got to download us.
Just download the Detroit Sports Podcast, you guys. Just do it right now. I told everyone.
All right, thank you. Megan,
yeah, thank you so much. Sorry for the interruptions there.
No worries at all. We appreciate your time. We love having you on. You can message us anytime, and you're welcome here on the podcast whenever you feel like it. If you want to support the Doc and hate on the Jock, you're welcome to come on every week.
Perfect. Love it.
Thanks, Megan. Enjoy the rest of your day, okay? We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Yep, bye-bye. Everyone, that was our knockout, Megan McCormick, bringing the noise on the Detroit Sports Podcast. I always love it when people come to me and are like, I got to get on the podcast. I have something that I'm passionate about, I want to talk about, and Megan brings it, and we appreciate having her on the Detroit Sports Podcast. Thanks again to Megan, and we look forward to chatting with her in the future. Stay tuned, everyone. After the break, we're going to definitely talk about the Detroit Lions and their recent comments made in the media from Golden Tate and Calvin Johnson. Stick and stay. Thanks everyone again for downloading the Detroit Sports Podcast. We appreciate your support. We appreciate everyone that's been following us on Twitter and messaging us at Detroit Podcast. We want to thank everyone for going to our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. And we want to thank all our supporters who are paying $1 a month for us to be on the internet. We greatly appreciate your support and everyone out there who's contributing to our podcast monthly. We can't do this without the support of our listeners and our followers, and we greatly appreciate that, and we can't thank you enough. Because the Detroit Lions continue to make comments in the media. They're still, they haven't listened to Doc and Jock from the Detroit Sports Podcast. First of all, you had Golden Tate on Monday's First Take. First Take is an interesting debate show between Skip Bayless and his friend Stephen A. Smith. Now, that show has a long history, but in the end, once those two got together, the ratings went through the roof. Because they have a great debate style, they're very knowledgeable. And on Monday's show...
I think it's something else, but okay, go ahead.
On Monday's show, there he was, Golden Tate. Newest signing for the Detroit Lions, talking about the past, and Stephen A. brought it to him. He asked him a really direct question in terms of, the Lions have a history of underachieving. And Golden Tate came out and basically said, the Lions last year were undisciplined. Basically kind of hinted that the coaching staff didn't do a good job of correcting problems that they saw on the field. And so now you have a new player coming in. He expects that Jim Caldwell is going to come in and change the culture. And so, in my opinion, while I can understand how a new player can come into this organization, it's still the honeymoon period. He still hasn't seen what goes on with the Lions. So he believes that, yes, Jim Caldwell can come in here and correct what's going on. He can correct the mistakes. I'm looking at this as a much bigger problem. I'm looking at this right at the top. I just don't feel like upper management brings in the right talent for this team to succeed. I think that if Jim Caldwell was the coach of last year's team, you would have the same problems and the similar situations. You'd have the same penalties. Now, Jim Schwartz made the big mistake in the Pittsburgh game and also the Houston game. Those were glaring mistakes that he made. But other than that, the Lions had issues, and it was much more than just coaching. Yes, the Lions have talented players, but there are weaknesses in big spots. And so when we look at the big picture, there's a lot of issues causing the Lions problems, but I don't think that you can look at it as a coaching discipline issue. I think you have to look at it as a talent issue, and you have to look at it that, you know what, if you would have had the best coach, how much more successful would you have been? You got to remember, cuz Pete Carroll, the darling of the NFL, got booted from the Jets, finished mediocre. Why? It all depends on the players. The players have to step up, and the players have to make the right choices and make the right plays. If they continue on this path, Golden Tate's going to see real quickly, when he sees us giving up all these penalties and he sees us making key mistakes late, that Jim Caldwell can only do so much. The coach can only blow the whistle so many times. Jim Caldwell can't give out 52 bus tickets every year. In the end, Jim Caldwell cannot overhaul the lineup in one season. So it's going to be up to the players to understand their assignments, do their job, and to progress. And so that's my opinion on Golden Tate's appearance on First Take. And also, we'll talk about his comparisons with Stafford and Russell. They were quite interesting. But just, did you get a chance to hear it? Did you see what Golden Tate said?
Yeah, I watched it. And as far as coaching goes, let's be honest about what wins in the National Football League. It's players and talent that wins in the National Football League. A coach might get you a game, maybe 2 games. Their scheme might get you another game. So a coach and a coaching staff might get you maybe 3 games, maybe 4 games. There might be the difference there in wins, all right? But it's talent that rises above all of the rest. When I say the Detroit Lions to you, what do you immediately think of?
The bar is high. Hell, it's even higher. It's even higher.
Comedy of errors. I just think of key moments. I think of third down, us achieving the first down, and the Lions getting a penalty to take away a big play.
Exactly. All right, it's discipline with them. They have undisciplined talent. And a lot of this talent that they do have, the good talent, is on the offensive side of the ball. They really don't have anything on defense. The only player that you can really hang your hat on, he's the most undisciplined player that they have on that defensive line, and that's Ndamukong Suh. When you talk about winning games in the National Football League, it's talent and it's discipline. It's making the right play at the right time. It's okay to take a penalty here and there, and it's okay to send a message here and there, but you have to do it at the right time when it's not going to cost your team. And the Lions just do it at the wrong time all the time. In the playoff game that they were just recently in when they got housed by the Saints, there were stupid plays that Titus Young was doing, just sitting there shooting them in the foot. They would sit there, move the ball 15 yards down the field, but then they'd have to sit there and go back 20, 25 yards because of a penalty. So just undisciplined play has plagued this team, and then not having the proper talent in the proper places has also been an issue. You can't sit there and you can't load up that offense to sit there and go play Madden. You got to put some pieces on defense. You got to help that defense out. There's nothing on that defense. When Ndamukong Suh leaves, and I'm telling you right now, he's going to leave. When Ndamukong Suh leaves this team after next season, what do you have? All you got is Ziggy Ansah. That's it. And he's a young player. Nick Fairley's too up and down right now. That Chicago game last year when they went into Soldier Field, he was the reason they won that game. Nick Fairley was like shot out of a gun. The guy was a madman. Then you look back at other games, and he was gone. He was vacant. There was nothing there. The guy didn't even have a tackle. How does that happen? You're in the middle of the line. How do you not have a tackle? So you need to build the right pieces on the right side of the ball. And they're just loading up on offense. Everything they do is towards the offensive end.
Do you think Coach Caldwell coming in his first season is going to be able to correct all the disciplinary mistakes that this team seems to be cursed with every year?
I think he'll make a difference because I think Jim Schwartz was too much of their buddy. He really he's a great coordinator. Let's put it that way. He's a great coordinator. The head coach can come down and the head coach can just be a jerk. The coordinator can kind of come in and be like, you know what, don't worry about it. He's having a bad day, and just kind of smooth it all over for you so the player doesn't get upset and so the player can go perform. Jim Schwartz did that as the head coach. That doesn't work. You need to be in these guys' face. You need to tell them what's going on. You need to tell them that it's unacceptable to sit there and step on a guy, kick a guy. sit there and almost rip a dude's helmet off and then try to beat him with it. That was cool in the 80s when you were the Oakland Raiders. That's not cool now. The NFL has changed. You can't do these things. Caldwell will come in, and I think he will set a precedence, and I think he'll be a good change, but I don't know if it's going to result in playoff wins. And that's all that we really want here in Detroit is we want playoff wins. I don't know if him coming in and him setting up his system with his coaching staff, I don't know if they're going to sit there and they're going to result in us getting to the second round of the playoffs, the third round of the playoffs, playing for a Super Bowl. I don't know if that happens. I don't see that happening. I don't think he's that type of guy. Okay.
Now, also in the interview, Golden Tate had the experience of working and catching passes from Russell Wilson. Now, he says that he and Matt Stafford are similar in that they're both top talent quarterbacks. But he did say that, Matthew Stafford throws a better ball and the ball gets to him faster. But in terms of the comparison, it's interesting that, towards the end of last season, we started saying, we were all jealous. You and I were jealous. Like, why can't we have a Russell Wilson in his second season is already leading the team to the Super Bowl? And we're still waiting on Matthew Stafford. We're getting all the flash. We're getting the 5,000 yards, passing yard seasons. We're getting the great numbers, but no results. You know what I mean? And last season, when it was crunch time, in key situations, he was turning the ball over. And so when we compare Russell Wilson to Matthew Stafford, the key comparison is intangibles. Russell Wilson's a winner. He's a guy that right away had what people call it. He's in the locker room, he's in there early, stays late, and he has the ability to rally the troops. And while Matthew Stafford has the ability slightly, he's nowhere near the caliber of Russell Wilson. And it stinks right now because we're at the point now, he was a number 1 draft pick. And we've only made the playoffs once, and they lost. And now he's gone through a coaching change. He's going to learn a new system.
You know what? Let me stop you real quick. I don't think that Matt Stafford pales in comparison to Russell Wilson all that much. I think that they have 2 different offensive systems that they run, and I think the offensive systems are kind of what puts them out there and makes you see them the way you see them. All right, Russell Wilson plays in a very run-heavy offense. All he has to do is be smart with the ball. If you look at his receivers, he didn't really have any good receivers out there. I mean, Golden Tate never really dropped the ball, but Golden Tate probably caught a pass maybe 2 times a game. So they didn't really throw the ball around a lot there. Here in Detroit, Matt Stafford's always slinging the rock, always throwing it. Even when they're coming out of the backfield, he's throwing the ball in the backfield. So it's just 2 different offenses. And what happens is Stafford's offense that he runs leads to more chances for turnovers, for interceptions. And when you talk about Matt Stafford, that's the one thing that you always bring up is his interception to touchdown ratio. The guy turns the ball over a lot, and he turns it over at bad times. Russell Wilson doesn't have to throw the ball that much, and Russell Wilson's not put in a situation where he's got to sit there and bomb the ball down the field like Matt Stafford does for wins. They usually just give the ball to Marshawn Lynch and let Marshawn Lynch just go beast mode and run up the middle. And otherwise they're sitting there and they're usually just kind of running some type of a flare, some type of out route to a corner, and Russell Wilson just kind of has to put it in the right spot.
So I want to ask you this.
Go ahead.
This season, does Matthew Stafford take a step forward, stay the same, or take a step back?
I think he has to take a step forward. I think if he takes a step back, I don't think he's our quarterback next year. I think at this point in his career, he has to go forward. And I know that he's had a couple coaching changes, and I know that the offensive scheme has changed a little bit. I think he has to go forward. I don't think he can go backwards. I think his back is against the wall. He has to go forward. There's no other option.
He has to eliminate the mistakes, and he has to make better decisions, and he has to stop turning the ball over in key situations. It's all about what happens in the fourth quarter. The Lions have a team that can score points, and they can keep up with most teams in the league, in the NFL. But can they take the next step in the fourth quarter and make key plays on offense and defense? Now, Calvin Johnson, on the other end, thinks that, life is gravy. We got enough. He looks around and says, we got enough to win the Super Bowl. I mean, I appreciate Calvin's attempt at saying, you know what, we have lofty goals and things like that. But the Lions are not a Super Bowl caliber team. And it's just because of the competition. It's 2 parts. 1, they don't have enough on defense. And 2, the caliber of competition in the NFC, there is no way that they compete with San Francisco, Seattle, New Orleans to get out of the NFC. So our goals are just to make the playoffs and to not embarrass ourselves when we get there. That should be the first goal of this season. And it stinks right now where all these guys are at because they're not getting younger. But our key goals are to not make mistakes, to win games late in the fourth quarter and to not. I just don't want to be sitting here in early September saying, I can't believe we lost 42-37. That would be killer if we do podcasts like that. I mean, I just may just line up the board here with beers and drink them every week, every Sunday.
Here's the deal. I love Calvin, and I respect Calvin. Out of everybody on that Detroit team, I give him the utmost respect. Shut up. You play on a Madden-style offense, which is great if life is a video game. It's not. Your defense has more holes than a strainer does. All right? There's no reason you should be talking about winning championships. Talk about getting to the playoffs. Talk about winning the NFC North. Don't talk about winning Super Bowls. Don't talk about winning championships. You haven't done it. Nobody in Detroit has seen it unless you're about 800 years old. Don't talk about winning championships. Talk about winning your division. That's the first step. All right? Don't get ahead of yourself. Your first step is to win your division. You're in one of the toughest divisions. You're going up against the likes of Green Bay and Chicago. So win your division first. Then get to the playoffs and talk about winning playoff games. Plural. Numeral. Dos. Trace. Plural. Playoff games.
How can you talk like that when in your history, one playoff win in 56 years? One playoff win. That's unbelievable.
It makes no sense. The things that come from Allen Park make absolutely no sense. I don't know why they talk.
So as you know, the Lions PR reps now, we've been trying to give examples of what they should have said. So let's role play again for Kelvin what he should have said. Kelvin, what do you think of this year's squad?
I think we're good. I think we're talented. I think we're building in the right direction. We're moving forward. We will be really competitive, and we're going to win the NFC North. Come out and even be emphatic about it. We're going to win the NFC North.
Do you think you guys can win the Super Bowl?
We got to win the NFC North first.
Just like that.
Then we got to win playoff games.
See?
That's all you have to say.
See, it's very simple. PR is very simple. I just think that, sometimes when you have to tell yourself and pump yourself up to believe it. I think that's the case. You have to tell yourself that, you know what, we can win the Super Bowl in order to believe it. You have to dream it to believe it. You know, he believes that the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl, and every fan that drinks beers on Sunday knows it's not going to happen this season. We just want to see progress. We want to see good football. We just don't want to see the Lions make mistakes. We don't want to see them shoot themselves in the foot over and over. We don't want to see them down by 1 going for 2 in the fourth quarter. We don't want to see them making dumb choices from the head coach. We don't want to see our star receiver drop 3 balls in a game. Or we don't want to see our star quarterback overshoot his tight end. So we want all the pieces to work together. Isn't it funny, though, cuz? When the Lions have a great offensive day, the defense stalls. When
That's how it always is.
The defense is playing great, the offense is stalling. We just want to see a series of games, maybe 4 to 6 in a row, where the offense, defense, special teams collaborate all together and work as one unit.
How about 9 or 10 for a season? We don't even need them in a row. 9 or 10 for a season, because then we're guaranteed to get to the playoffs.
You're getting way ahead of yourself. 9 or 10 great performances in a row.
I don't need great. I just need good. I need it where the defense is hitting on all cylinders. I need it where the offense is firing on all cylinders too. That's all I need. I just need synergy. Synergy from this Lions team. That's all I want.
Definitely. And guys out there, please don't get our hopes up. Don't start off the season like 6-0 and then lose the next 10 games in a row. Please don't do that. If you're going to be bad, just be bad all the way through and put us out of our misery. Because the Lions teased us last year, and it just didn't work out. They teased us royally, and the bottom fell out in one of the more disappointing collapses of 2013. But I'm interested to hear what Travis Newville has to say about the Lions. He's from the Detroit Sports Nation. We're in great collaboration with them. We have a lot of their writers on to talk Detroit sports, and he'll be joining us next to give his thoughts regarding Golden Tate, Calvin Johnson, and also a former Lion who's still having troubles. We'll get his thoughts next. Stay tuned.
I'm Megan McCormick out here in Fox Sports LA, and when I'm not sitting out in the sun, I'm listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast.
All right, Detroit Sports Podcast listeners, we are bringing to you Travis Newville from Detroit Sports Nation. He's going to give us a little bit of insight on these Lions that we've been kind of going back and forth about. Travis, tell us how you're doing today.
I'm doing great. Excited for some Lions football.
Awesome. All right, let's just kind of get right into it here. Did you happen to see the Golden Tate comments where he compared Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford?
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, you don't sound too pleased. What were your thoughts on that?
Nah, I just kind of think it's funny. I think people are reading a little too much into it. What I heard from it is Golden Tate likes the way Stafford throws balls. He's excited to play with Stafford.
All right, you know what? I actually kind of took the same thing out of it. I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. It seems like Stafford's got a little bit better of an arm than Wilson, that's all. Plus, why wouldn't Golden Tate want to play in this type of offense? They're going to sit there and they're going to sling the rock all around the place.
Yep, he's excited to get some single coverage, and he should be. He's going to be dangerous this year.
Most definitely. Did you happen to hear what Calvin Johnson had said about this Detroit Lions team having enough to win the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I heard that. I like that, too.
You think that's positive? You think that's good? You think you should be spewing this?
Yeah, well, I think you could take it both ways, but for Calvin Johnson to be the one to step up and say something, that's a big deal.
But doesn't this team lack essential pieces to win a championship? Shouldn't he be talking more about possibly winning this division? I mean, you got to go up against the likes of Green Bay twice, Chicago twice, Minnesota. Minnesota will come up and bite you every now and then. Shouldn't they be more concerned about winning the NFC North?
Yeah, I think his head's in the right spot. The NFC North is just a stepping stone to the Super Bowl, and that's the way these Lions are looking at it.
Wow, that's a little bit braggadocious coming from you there. You know what? When I heard the comments, I just kind of thought CJ was maybe. It's cool to hear CJ say stuff like that because it's Calvin, and you don't expect that.
It doesn't come out of him very often.
Exactly. So when he says it, you kind of perk your ears up a little bit. But all this chatter coming out of Allen Park, I think it's unnecessary. I mean, you got guys like Eric Ebron talking about how he's going to become the next Jimmy Graham. You got other guys talking about championship DNA. This team hasn't won a playoff game.
Yeah, the team as a whole, but they got pieces coming in that they've won Super Bowls and they know what it takes. And they got a few leaders coming in, like James Adegbo on defense. He's going to have a big year. He's going to have a good impact on these young DBs.
So, Travis, in your opinion, it sounds like you're expressing some confidence in this upcoming 2014 season. You know, Adam and I, we've been watching for a long time. We've been beaten down by so many disappointing seasons from our Lions. Just talk a little bit about your hope for this season. What do you expect for the Lions to improve upon, and what do you kind of see for the Lions this upcoming season?
Well, the first thing that's got to improve is turnovers. We had 34 giveaways, and that's second only to the New York Giants. It was terrible. We're minus 12 in turnovers, and got to make things happen on offense. Our defense can't be out on the field as much as they have been because that's what's killing them. Our defense is giving away big plays, and a lot of it's due to turnovers on the offensive end. But the big plays on defense is what's got to change too, and I think it will because Darius Slay is only in his second year. He only started 4 games last year. I mean, he's a young kid that we brought in to be a ball hawk, and I think he could really explode this year.
Okay, are you concerned that maybe the Lions overemphasized the offense, and we've lost Louis Delmas, we haven't really addressed needs in the secondary? Are you concerned that maybe the defense isn't where it needs to be in order to be a championship contending team?
No, I'm not concerned about the defense. I think Darius Slay and Bill Bentley will step up. I think the Lions draft was really good. I took mostly positive from it. I like Eric Ebron. He's going to make this offense potent. If, you know, like I said, if the offense can cut down on the turnovers, that's going to help our defense.
Okay.
Our defense wasn't all too bad last year. We had some bad big plays that we gave up, but all in all, we gave up less points than everybody else in the NFC North.
So what is your expectation then for this season? Do you feel like that we can seriously contend for the NFC? What do you think for this season?
I think we could contend for the NFC North title. I don't see Minnesota winning it, and I see Chicago having a lot of problems. Green Bay's defense is suspect, so I think we should take advantage of this year. This has got to be the year.
Okay, Travis, to me, you sound like a half-glass full kind of guy. I appreciate that. We need that from time to time, Adam and I, because we've been beaten down so much. But realistically, haven't you don't the Lions just sometimes make you cringe just due to the mistakes, or just make you want to turn the TV off and support a different team?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how did the collapse last year affect you?
The collapse last year was terrible. Lions fans were bickering with Lions fans, and Detroit as a whole was just not pleased with the Lions' play. We had high expectations after starting the year 6-3, and as anybody should. But you're right.
So when they failed to deliver
last year was terrible.
Yeah, so when they failed to deliver year after year, doesn't that just make you say, you know what? How much more can I commit to this team?
No.
You're a diehard man. You drink that Kool-Aid?
No, I'm not drinking any Kool-Aid, but I think I see the positives where our team is coming from. And another thing that Golden Tate said was that the Lions were undisciplined in 2013, and I think that's going to show with our new coaching staff. If they can get these guys in order, then they can win some games. They have the talent. I'm not going to get all negative on the talent because of what's happened in the past, because that's too easy.
Do you think Caldwell's going to come in and he's going to reshape this team and they're going to be dramatically different?
I think Caldwell's going to win a few more games than we did last year.
So do you see that translating into playoff wins, plural?
I don't really want to jump the gun on playoff wins. That's something that Detroit
You just
really
said that they're going to win the NFC North. How do you not want to jump the gun on playoff wins?
I said they could win the NFC North.
They couldn't win it last year when they had two quarterbacks in their league go down with injuries. It was set up perfect.
They were set up perfect, and then they turned the ball over 2 times a game.
Do you think that the running backs, in the way that they're going to utilize the running backs this year as opposed to, say, the previous 4 seasons, is going to be dramatically different, and that's going to translate into victories and more touchdowns for this team?
I hope so. I was so sick of last year watching Linehan call 3 pass plays on 1st and goal. That's just absurd when you have a back like Joik Bell. Just give it to him. I want to see Joik Bell run the ball more in the red zone.
What about all this talk about them having a guy like Darren Sproles in Theo Riddick? What are your thoughts on that?
I like it, but I want to see it. I want to see him catch some passes, and we want to see him be a bigger part of this offense.
Going to more depressing news, what's your takeaway on this story that's coming out about Titus Young and the debacle that is his life?
Who? I'm just playing. No, Titus Young, he's a good kid with a lot of mental issues, and I hope he gets them worked out.
Yeah, he's
got proven mentally handicapped issues or a disease or something that he needs to get help on, and I hope to see him get help.
Yeah, he seemed like, when he came out of college, seemed like a kid who had all the talent in the world, was just a few sandwiches short of a picnic basket.
Exactly.
Really
sad. It's sad to see, but I hope he gets it straightened out.
All right, Travis, we want to thank you for coming on, giving us your insight. We appreciate all your knowledge and all your information that you kind of shared with us today. Can you tell us and tell our listeners where they can find you and how to follow you and read all the great articles that you guys put out?
Yeah, I'm just on Detroit Sports Nation. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, online, DetroitSportsNation.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Travis. We appreciate it. We hope to talk to you soon. Hopefully have you on when these Lions are winning the NFC North.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, take it easy. We want to thank Travis Newville from the Detroit Sports Nation for coming on our show. If you want and you need any information regarding Detroit sports, check out DetroitSportsNation.com. They do a great job. They've got a blog site. They've got podcasts. They've got everything that you need as a Detroit fan. Check out their site. You won't be disappointed. Thanks again, Travis.
Cuz another great podcast hitting on all things important in regards to Detroit sports. But before we go, we got to definitely hit on it real fast. JV in Mexico chilling with Kate Upton. Good or bad? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Doesn't bother me in the least bit. I think it's good for him to get away.
We've talked to Denny McClain. We've talked to others who are concerned that this relationship may be taking a toll. I just think that he deserves a break. Like everyone out there, he goes on vacation. But I think a lot of people who have problems are the kind of people who are type A and are the successful people. The successful people are single-minded. They don't need vacations. They spend 24 hours in the film room. They spend 24 hours looking at game tape in the regular season. Dude, the reason why people are upset, you have a whole off season. You have 6 months off to vacation and to nail the hottest supermodel. 6 months! So you need a week off in the middle of the season? Devote your 1 week to improving yourself and resting. I mean, how is taking 2 flights from Detroit to Mexico and Mexico back to Detroit helping your cause if you need to heal? That's where I'm upset.
Do you see the cans on her? I mean, that would relax me. Actually, it wouldn't relax me. I'd be hard as a rock. But that's beside the point. Here's the deal. All right, that guy's had a really rough season. This is probably his worst season in the past 9 years of his career. All right? He is struggling out there. Give him a week, let him get away. Let him sit there, relax. Let him come back recharged. Let him come back renewed. Maybe we'll see the Justin of old. Maybe we'll see the Justin that was dominant during the playoffs. That's all we really need is the Justin that was dominant during the playoffs.
See, the type A personality that I am says, listen, You're in the season. You got so much time off to recover at the end of the season. Right now, yeah, you don't put in a full workload. Like, you don't spend 16 hours a day in the film room. But, hey, you wake up, Kate Upton brings you some breakfast, you chill, you watch a movie till 2 o'clock, then you go to the gym. Hit the training room, be in the facility from 3 till 10 every night, and get back home. That's what I'm thinking he should be doing. I'm for those out there that are poo-pooing this and are like, oh, what's the big deal? Look, you got the paparazzi stalking him. He's, maybe a little distracted. I just think that, well, he definitely is entitled to it. He deserves it. Yes, I can understand it. I also understand the opinion out there of those who say, get your ass in the gym, get to work. You haven't delivered a World Series, and your ass is set to make $28 million. Your ass is making $28 million. You don't get vacation. I don't care who you are. You know what I mean? Your whole life is going to be a vacation in 8 years. Everyone wants the big prize. And to get the biggest prize of all, you need to sacrifice Mexico.
But if he comes back, we'll say right now he's playing at about 75%. All right? His mind's a little bit fried because he can't really figure out what's going wrong, and he's just a little bit tired. His arm's a little bit tired, a little bit weary. Wouldn't you rather have him come back right around 95, maybe 98% when the season kicks off later on this week?
Yeah,
Wouldn't you rather have that?
That's what they're doing. What the Tigers are doing is they're putting off his start till Monday. Anibal Sanchez starts on Friday, and the doubleheader is going on versus Cleveland on Saturday. And they're giving him every opportunity. I just think
rest him. It's not. It appears that he is just fatigued right now, and maybe it is because he's having late nights with Kate Upton.
And we don't blame him for that.
No.
Have as many late nights as you want, but in Detroit.
Let the guy relax. I say let the guy relax. Give him a week off. Give him some time away from the game, and then let him come back and let him pitch and let him start new. I don't think there's been anybody in the last 3 or 4 years who has pitched as many innings as Justin Verlander has. So at some point, that's going to take its toll on you. I mean, the guy's been in a couple All-Star games as well, so he's not in this one. Let him get away. Let him relax for a little bit. Let him come back, and hopefully the second half of the season, the guy's lights out. If he comes back and he struggles some more, and we get into the playoffs, and he struggles in the playoffs, then we've got something to talk about, and we've got some concerns, because he's getting a raise next year, and it's going to be a big raise.
Kate Upton, if you're interested in doing a podcast with a local guy, Doc, 5'4", really handsome. Hit me up. It might be a new opening. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski. I am the Doc, John McAroon. This has been the Detroit Sports Podcast. Thanks for downloading. Tell a friend. We appreciate all your support. See you all next week.
Go Tigers. Like, this is going to sound a little bit homo, but it's okay.
You drink that Kool-Aid?
I've got a list of guys to talk to you about.
None of these guys do it for me.
My life sucks. I have an issue with my penis.
I told you, they hate to love me, because I love me some me. I love me some me. I can't stand myself.